Imagine, new movies are flooding into the theater every day, and you need to know which ones are even worth checking out. When in need for a reliable movie review, we all know who to turn to. Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes has become one of the most used movie review sites on the internet. But what about the movies that don't do so well? Trust me, they're out there. We're going to be focusing on the critics' review. Thankfully, someone was nice enough to make a list of the 38 lowest rated movies on the site. Now, I'm not about to watch 38 horrible movies, so we devised a plan for prime bad movie watching. No sequels and no movies with 40% or higher audience score. So let's hop into 10 of the lowest rated movies that I've ranked best to worst. Despite what I just said, I honestly don't think Cabin Fever deserves 0%. It's a pretty forgettable teenage horror flick. About 5 young adults that go to a creepy town to go camping in the woods. They try to force some characterization into the story, and then they get attacked by this dude with what I'm assuming is a skin-eating parasite. They never say it in the film, but it says so in the descriptions, so... They set him on fire, and then, as you can guess, they all start to get infected one by one, until literally every single one of them dies. Shallow characters paired with an awkward dialogue and an iffy storyline, but really not the worst that I've seen. Girls, gambling, and fast cars. What more could a prepubescent teenage boy want, right? This movie is full of it. Basically, this is a story about people betting on fast drivers, and the main character is this girl, Nat, who is not only hot, but she sure can drive. Oh yeah, and she sings too. I guess. Her dad was a famous racer, and he died in a crash years ago, so she's sworn off driving, of course, until this guy comes along and is like, "Hey, I'm betting everything I have on you, so you better win." And she almost does, until this kid nitro boosts himself to death. But he crossed the line first, so well, I guess this creepy uncle guy wins the bet. Creepy uncle kidnaps Nat and tries to keep her as his wife? I'm not sure, dude, but this other guy's nephew comes and saves Nat, and they run off together, which makes Mr. Creepy very mad. So then he kidnaps Nat's mom, and so Nat has to race to get her back while also racing to win yet another bet against all these other guys. But when she realizes that she doesn't have to win to get her mom back anymore, she purposely loses. Then they live happily ever after. The acting is kinda lame and there are some major plot holes too. Like, what about the guy that Nat raced that killed her dad? They brought it up and never got back to it.
Who is that guy? It's the guy that killed Nat's mom.
And what the heck was that Nitro Boost stuff that kid used anyways? I digress. This film was actually pretty entertaining at some points, and it got a couple chuckles from me, so it was definitely refreshing. Not gonna lie, I was pretty lost for the majority of this movie. To sum it up, it's a story about Russian John Cena, who is protecting this lady who stole top secret samples of an extremely deadly disease. They board this train and later on in the movie, his wife and kids show up because it's his birthday? And they see him with this lady and suspect he's cheating on his wife. Anyways, they fight some terrorists, they accidentally let the virus out, and in the end the government blows up the train. Seriously though, why do all these characters look the same? In fact, these characters are the major problem with this film. There are just too many of them that add absolutely nothing to this plot, and just add these random subplot tangents. That pretty much sums it up. Bad, but not unwatchable. Also, let me just show you this clip real quick. All shark movies are bad. Let's just face the facts. And when you add an unemotional death scene and an annoying rich guy, it just makes it worse. The relationship between the shark whisperer and the love interest is so confusing and horribly manipulative. I guess they were married at some point and then estranged for a year after their friend gets eaten by a shark. Then the guy comes back to her to get her to take this rich guy and his son to swim with sharks. She says no, but then he ends up making some promises behind her back, and they end up going anyways. And throughout the whole trip, there is so much back and forth between the two that it is more annoying than charming. The storyline was really unpredictable, and I got bored watching a lot of the scenes. Anyways, this movie had potential, but just fell flat for so many different reasons. aptly named, this movie is flat out ridiculous, and not in the good way. Adam Sandler is a white guy raised by Native Americans because his father left him and his mother was killed when he was little. Finally, when he's an adult, his father finds him and explains to him his misfortunes, and tells him there's a bunch of money hidden somewhere that he wants his son to have. He gets taken by a group of bad guys, so Adam Sandler goes out to save his dad and find the money. He decides to collect $10,000 on his way there, so that he can pay the bad guys and save his dad. And he is not afraid to find it any way he can. Throughout this whole trip of robbing and thieving, he finds 5 of his brothers along the way, all sharing the same dad. So of course they agree to go help save him. The ending tries to surprise you when you realize the dad has been evil this whole time, but really, what did they expect? Their dad is a thief and a womanizer, so he isn't exactly a good person. If I could give this movie any award, it would be the Try Hard Award. This movie tries too hard on everything. Tries way too hard to be funny, tries too hard to have touching father-son moments, and tries too hard to have likable characters. Not to mention, any of the jokes made in the first half of the movies about the Native Americans are flat out racist. Some actors are just horrible at acting, and so many of these scenes could have been cut out so this movie wasn't 2 hours long. The only reason this movie isn't farther down the list is how good the production quality on it is. There's only one way to describe this movie. Thank you guys so much for watching. The second part of this video will be coming out soon, so make sure to subscribe to the Hive to stay notified.